A chilling text, a broken promise, a life extinguished. On a cold Detroit night, Zion Foster vanished, leaving behind a digital breadcrumb trail and a family consumed by a nightmare. What really happened after that final OMW message? Prepare to delve into a twisted tale of lies, betrayal, and a desperate search for truth in the heart of the Motor City. January 5th, 2022, 12:59 a.m. Zion Foster, just 17, sent a simple text to her boyfriend, Vertez Gonzalez. OMW. On my way. These three letters, now haunting echoes, marked the last known communication from the East Detroit High School senior. A seemingly ordinary night out turned into an abyss of unanswered questions. Earlier that evening, Zion had told her mother, Sierra Milton, that she was going to see her favorite cousin, Jaylin Brazier. A routine visit, a trusted connection. But as the hours ticked by, her mother's unease grew into a full-blown panic. Zion never came home. Sierra Milton, a mother of 6, woke on January 5th with a knot of dread tightening in her stomach. Zion's absence felt different from her previous teenage rebellions. This wasn't a runaway situation. This was a disappearance shrouded in silence. Zion had finished her shift at Detroit Wing Company and asked to spend the evening with Jaylin. Sierra, trusting their bond, agreed. That image of Zion leaving, full of youthful energy, would forever be seared into her memory, a constant reminder of what was lost. As morning turned to afternoon, Vertez Gonzalez, Zion's boyfriend, reached out to Sierra, his voice laced with desperation. He hadn't heard from Zion either. Her last message, OMW, hung in the air like a cruel joke. Calls to Zion's cell phone went straight to voicemail. Messages remained unread. At 8:53 a.m., Vertez sent a heartbreaking text, "Are you alive?" followed by, "This is the worst thing ever." A desperate cry lost in the digital void. Adding to the confusion, Jaylin Brazier denied seeing Zion that night. He questioned how often Zion claimed to visit him, dismissing their bond as a fabrication. "Zion's lies about me are sneaky and dangerous," he texted Sierra. Why would Zion lie about spending time with her cousin? Jaylin suggested she was using him as a cover to meet someone else. A seed of doubt was planted, but Sierra couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. GPS data from Zion's phone placed her near Jaylin's house at 11:24 p.m. Vertez, fueled by insecurity, had even taken a screenshot. Jaylin dismissed it, suggesting Zion might know someone else on the street. He urged Sierra to contact the police, but insisted on being excluded from the investigation. Vertez, however, refused to let it go. He bombarded Jaylin with messages, demanding answers. Jaylin responded by sending a video from his Ring camera system, claiming it showed no sign of Zion. "She was never here," he insisted. But something felt off. Was this the truth, or a carefully constructed facade? The Eastpointe police initially dismissed Zion's disappearance as a runaway case, citing her past incidents. A devastating blow to Sierra, who felt abandoned by the very people sworn to protect her. Feeling betrayed by law enforcement, Sierra took matters into her own hands. She rallied family and friends, launching a desperate search for Zion. Flyers, rallies, media appeals, she would leave no stone unturned. "We need your eyes. The police need your help," Sierra pleaded, her voice raw with emotion. Every corner of Detroit became a potential clue, every face a potential witness. Detectives finally questioned Jaylin Brazier, Zion's favorite cousin, who was actually her former step-cousin. At 23, Jaylin was a father of 2, living a seemingly stable life with his partner. Katrina. Jaylin claimed he hadn't seen Zion since May 2021. He blamed Sierra and Vertez for insisting Zion had been with him that night. A web of lies was being spun, and Sierra was determined to unravel it. Jaylin offered to show the police his ring camera footage. Sierra examined it, noticing suspicious gaps in the recordings for the night of January 4th. Segments appeared to be missing, as if deliberately deleted. "But she was never here," Jaylin reiterated, his voice firm and unwavering. The Eastpointe police found nothing suspicious during their search of the house, leaving Sierra with a growing sense of despair. "Dragged into this circus," Jaylin spat, his voice dripping with disdain. "Over a 17-year-old cousin I barely know. This girl was never in my house. She's a known runaway." He scoffed at the idea that he was involved, painting Sierra as a delusional mother playing a twisted game. But Sierra knew better. She knew her daughter, and she knew Jaylin was lying. The truth, however, was about to surface. A neighbor's doorbell camera captured Jaylin's white sedan pulling into his driveway at 11:15 p.m. on January 4th. Two figures emerged, a man and a woman. Jaylin had dropped Katrina off at work for her midnight shift. The woman entering his house couldn't have been her. Phone location data would later confirm it. Jaylin Brazier and Zion Foster. The camera captured Zion entering Jaylin's house, but it didn't capture her leaving. A chilling detail that sent shivers down Sierra's spine. What happened to Zion after she walked through that door? At 1:41 a.m., the same camera captured Jaylin pulling his car out, backing it in, trunk facing the backyard. Minutes later, he drove off, returning less than 10 minutes after. A suspicious sequence of events that couldn't be ignored. Search warrants were obtained for the house and car. The house yielded nothing, but the car's contents were meticulously examined. It wasn't until the cadaver dogs arrived that the truth began to emerge. The dogs pinpointed the trunk of Jaylin's car. A wave of nausea washed over Sierra as she realized the horrifying implications. Her daughter had been in that trunk. On January 19th, Jaylin, accompanied by a lawyer, voluntarily sat down with detectives. He admitted to lying about seeing Zion. He offered a truthful account. He picked her up, brought her to his place, and they smoked weed and watched TV. He claimed the marijuana made Zion sleepy. He saw her head tilt back as if for a nap on the couch. He went to the other room for a drink. A seemingly innocent story, but Sierra knew it was just another layer of deception. "I came back, and she was slumped," Jaylin said. "I thought she was tired. I checked on her 20 minutes later, and she wasn't responding." He claimed Zion's pulse was faint, then non-existent. She had died on his couch. Instead of calling 911, he panicked. "I freaked out. It looked terrible, very bad. I didn't know what to do. I put her in my trunk, drove to Highland Park and put her in a trash can." A horrifying confession that left Sierra shattered. Jaylin led detectives to Highland Park, claiming he'd left Zion's body weeks prior. He said she died around 1 a.m. after 2 hours at his place. Cell phone records showed her device dropped off the network at 1:15 a.m. Jaylin claimed he hadn't deleted any data, but a full factory reset was found on her phone. Phone data placed him at the dumpsters at 1:48 a.m. "She was in the dumpster to the right," he said, but there was no sign of her. "He said my baby just died and he threw her in a dumpster like she was trash," a detective recounted. The callousness of Jaylin's actions was beyond comprehension. He had treated Zion's life as if it were worthless. In a follow-up interview, inconsistencies emerged. Jaylin now claimed they'd taken acid. Her reaction, he said, caused her heart to stop. Another flimsy excuse, another attempt to deflect blame. "Look, I'm not saying it's okay," Jaylin stammered, his voice a pathetic attempt at justification. "But completely, I just don't know if the effect for her was positive or negative. It does a lot to your brain, you know." His words, hollow and unconvincing, paint a picture of a man desperately trying to escape the consequences of his actions. The detective, a seasoned veteran of countless grim investigations, saw through the charade. "Yeah, it does a lot," he conceded, a calculated pause hanging in the air. "It all makes sense to me now. You understand that, right? I'm sitting here trying to figure out how this nice young guy, Jaylin, could ever hurt anybody. But it makes sense now." The detective's ploy, a carefully constructed attempt to elicit a confession, ultimately failed. Without Zion's body, without concrete proof, the evidence remained circumstantial. Jaylin was arrested, but only on a single charge, lying to the police, a mere shadow of the justice Zion deserved. Jaylin changed his story again, recanting his earlier claims about LSD. "That part wasn't true," he mumbled, further eroding his credibility. The details shifted, the narrative twisting and turning like a snake trying to escape its skin. The search for Zion's body became a Herculean task, a descent into the depths of a Detroit area landfill. Volunteers, masked and suited, meticulously combed through layers of refuse, searching for any trace of the young woman whose life had been so cruelly cut short. "We expect Phase 1 to take approximately 2 weeks, a spokesperson announced, the words offering a glimmer of hope amidst the grim reality. "But we're doing what's right, for the right reasons. We'll do everything possible to bring some degree of closure and justice to this family." At his sentencing for lying to the police, Jaylin pleaded for leniency. "I turned myself in. Yes, I lied, but I wasn't in the right state of mind. There was no way to prepare for this. I was scared. I don't know how she passed. One minute she was fine, the next, she was dead. I didn't cause it. I reacted stupidly out of fear and panic." The judge, unmoved by Jaylin's desperate plea, questioned the inexplicable act of disposing of Zion's body. "You think she dies and you dispose of the body like that?" he asked, incredulous. "That was your choice." "I didn't know what to do," Jaylin replied, his voice barely a whisper. "I sat for 10 minutes thinking, what do I do? My kids are upstairs. We just got this place after struggling for 2 years. Everything is falling apart. I wish I could take it back. I would have called her Mom. She's so sweet. Nobody would be in this situation. At least they'd know what happened, have some peace." Jaylin's monitored calls home to Katrina, his partner, revealed a desperate attempt to control the narrative. He used other inmates' codes, trying to keep his conversations private, a clear indication of his guilt and fear of discovery. "Anything major happen?" he repeatedly asked, a thinly veiled inquiry about the landfill search. His anxiety was palpable, a stark contrast to the behavior of an innocent man who would want Zion found to clear his name. "Keep your head up, baby," he told Katrina, his words laced with a desperate plea for silence. "Stop talking." His relief at the lack of progress in the search spoke volumes, painting a damning picture of his involvement in Zion's disappearance. Jaylin's freedom was short-lived. On June 13, 2023, after an 18-month investigation, the Detroit police obtained a murder warrant. The evidence, meticulously gathered and analyzed, pointed to one inescapable conclusion: Jaylin was responsible for Zion's death. The digital trail he left behind was damning. His Google searches in the days after Zion's disappearance revealed a chilling preoccupation with the disposal of a body. Are garbage trucks also compactors? What is the force of a garbage truck compactor? How do police get your phone history? How do you know if police are watching you? His online activity also revealed a disturbing pattern of searching for pornographic content involving cousin and step-cousin, a glimpse into the twisted fantasies that may have fueled his actions. At a preliminary hearing, the defense team desperately grasped at a new narrative, suggesting that Zion's death may have been the result of a sudden medical event. They presented testimony suggesting that Zion had a history of seizures, a claim vehemently denied by her family and contradicted by her medical records. Sierra Milton, whose youngest child had been diagnosed with seizures, testified that Zion had never suffered a seizure. Medical records, hundreds of pages, supported Sierra's assertion, further undermining the defense's desperate attempt to create reasonable doubt. The prosecutor, in his closing argument, reminded the jury that only 2 people knew what happened inside that house that night. One is Zion, and she is gone. The other is the defendant, and you will hear that nearly every time he spoke, his story changed. And although he got rid of Zion's body, he left behind a trail of damning digital evidence that shows the circumstances all lead to one explanation. He murdered her. The prosecution argued that Jaylin had been grooming Zion for years, fantasizing about her. On January 4th, they claimed, he acted on those impulses, a twisted motive for murder fueled by a dark obsession. The jury learned that Jaylin had discovered Katrina's 3rd pregnancy the day he brought Zion to his house. Messages showed he lied to Katrina about his whereabouts, further highlighting his deceitful and manipulative nature. Katrina noticed a deep scratch on his collarbone, a detail he dismissed as a cat scratch. The trial lasted 2 weeks, a grueling process that exposed the depths of Jaylin's depravity. In just 30 minutes, the jury returned a verdict: guilty on all counts. Jaylin maintained his innocence, but his words rang hollow in the face of the overwhelming evidence against him. Judge Donald Knapp, in his sentencing remarks, outlined Jaylin's refusal to take responsibility, his lies, manipulation, and the destruction of evidence. It's unlikely he will ever be rehabilitated, the judge declared, sentencing Jaylin to 30 to 90 years for murder and 5 to 10 for evidence tampering, to be served consecutively. "My body was trembling," Sierra said, "but when it was read, I was so happy. They saw she was loved, fought for, justice." Zion Foster's body was never recovered, a tragic reminder of the lasting impact of Jaylin's heinous crime. The case of Zion Foster is a stark reminder of the importance of crime awareness and the need to remain vigilant in the face of evil. It highlights the devastating consequences of unchecked impulses and the importance of holding perpetrators accountable for their actions. If you're fascinated by the dark depths of the criminal mind and want to delve deeper into cases like this, I invite you to subscribe to our channel, Into the Crime Depths. Here, we explore the most complex and unsettling stories, seeking to shed light on the motivations behind the most heinous crimes. Don't forget to leave a like and activate the notification bell to stay updated on our latest content. Your participation is essential to us, as it enables us to continue bringing these stories to light in the hope of achieving justice for the victims and gaining a better understanding of the dynamics that drive evil.